Torah guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah nation.
Shalom, 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 Yasharal and Yahuda. Hear the word of Yahuwah. Babylon is fallen. Make no mistake about it. Her demise is determined. Her fate is sealed. Babylon is set for destruction. Listen, and you who are in Babylon, you who are his people, who have received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, your kinsman, redeemer, listen, you are sealed. Because you have the witness, the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood, you have the seal. You have Yahuwah's promise. His promise to never leave you nor forsake you, but you have to endure to the end. You have to endure tribulation. You have to recognize that this is your ally because it's leading to your deliverance. It is leading to your deliverance. Yahuwah has not forgotten his people. And listen, his people are those who have received the witness. You who have received the witness of Yah's salvation, Yahusha, you who have received his name, Yahusha HaMashiach, you are his. Grafted in Gentiles, you who have received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, you're sealed. You got to have this witness. If you don't have this witness, you're lost. You're going to lose. Right. You make light of this Yeshua, that Yahuwah has made preparations for the deliverance of Yahusha and for his people. You make light of this Yeshua of Yahusha HaMashiach, you will be judged. You will be set to destruction. Listen, Yahuwah is not going to care one bit about you and your unrighteousness. You will be sealed to destruction if you don't want to receive this witness. Yahweh, in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I pray that you would take the reins of my lips and the reins of my tongue and reign. Yahweh, in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I pray that no one is caused to stumble, no one is turned out of the way, no one comes up lame. Yahuwah, let the word be a lamp unto their feet, a light unto their pathway. You declared, from my belly shall flow rivers of living waters. This ye spake of the Ruach HaKodesh. Yahuwah, you have also said, in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, you have declared that I will receive power. After that, the Ruach HaKodesh has come upon me. Power to be a witness, to declare your righteousness. You have told me, Yahuwah, to cry loud and to spare not. You have told me to warn the people that they must receive this witness. They must receive this witness. They must be born again. Yaakov, Yahuda, you must be born again. Yahuwah recognizes that you are his firstborn, but you have to be born again. You gotta understand, Yahuwah, in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I pray for those people. I pray that they would recognize your word, your Basora, your Torah of truth, that you would quicken, make alive, Yahuwah, your Torah, your Basora of truth, Yahuwah, in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. Yeah, you got to be born. Yeah, you better be born again. Let the words of my mouth, meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. You are my strength and my redeemer. In the name of Yahusha, Mashiach, I pray you better be born again of the water and the Ruach HaKodesh. Yeah. You have to receive this witness in Emunah. You have to believe that Yahuwah has sent Yeshua, salvation. You have to believe that as the word has declared that there is no other name given unto men whereby they must receive Yeshua. Who gave man the name Yahuwah? Whose salvation is it? It's Yahuwah. Whose name is it? Yahuwah's. Yahusha Mashiach is that name. Yahusha Mashiach is the bearer of that name. Yah salvation. He is Yahuwah's only begotten son. Yeah. He was born in the likeness of man, but he was deity. He was royalty. He was sanctity. He was holy as he was planted and as he was born, a kinsman redeemer. Someone who could stand in and bring forth Yeshua. Someone that could stand in and that would take the penalty. He was a kinsman redeemer. And he has sent his son Yahusha HaMashiach to be that kinsman redeemer. That's why it's his salvation. He's the orchestrator of this Yeshua. You can't determine anything about what Yahuwah has set in motion. You can't change it. You can't detract from it. You can't do anything to it because it is Yah's salvation. Yahusha HaMashiach. Yeah. Listen. To those who receive the witness, endure to the end. Yeah. To those who receive the witness, endure tribulation unto the end. Yes, because it's coming. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, tribulation is coming. Yeah. It's everywhere. You can see it. It's in the air. You can feel it. Tribulation is coming. Yeah, the dollar's going to bottom out. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah. Chaos is going to hit the nations coming. Yeah. Nations are going to rise up against this nation. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Tribulation. What you gonna do? Right? What you gonna do? Right? Because only a remnant is going to make it. Only a remnant is going to endure it. Only those who have received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, who are connected to Yahuwah, as only you can be connected in this witness. Only they are going to make it. Sitting up here thinking that you're going to make it and you don't even have the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. You deceive yourself. You think you're going to make this witness without, you're going to make it without the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. You deceive yourself. Wretched man, wretched woman, right? Wretched man, wretched woman. Think you can live any kind of way and then then receive Yeshua. Think Yahuwah is just going to rapture you. Walking around talking about we live by grace. We don't have to keep the Torah. All right. Listen, we're going to go away. Now, we left off at Ezra completing the 10th chapter. And, I was reading and I was praying, asking Yahuwah where he wanted me to, did he want me to continue, right? And he said yes, right? And, but I'm going to pick up at the 14th chapter, right? Now, if you understand anything about what Yahuwah has spoken in reference to things to come in Ezra, beginning at the 11th chapter, 12th chapter, right up until the 13th chapter, right? Yahuwah expounds on the, for lack of a better word, the evolution of the nation and the world, right? And the kingdoms that are going to rise and the kingdoms that are going to fall, right? He gives explanation, right, or interpretation to the visions that he's given Ezra, similar to what he's given to the prophet, or given to Daniel, right? But he expounded more so with Daniel, right? But he gives an explanation to these nations, right? All right, and that's important. I mean, you understand that, that you have to, there is given explanation, right, to what's going to occur, right? And it's given not to everybody, right? But it's given to Daniel. I mean, it was given to Daniel only to a degree. And then you got Ezra, who's received an understanding of, or interpretation of what Yahuwah said. He gave it to him, right? Right, but it all points to a chain of events that are going to occur in the last days. And now you got to understand, Ezra was moving into, right, the last days, right? He was not there yet. He was between the heel and the hand, right? He was between the heel and the hand. He was in Ezra's 5th week, and we know there's, according to Ezra, not Ezra. He was in Enoch's 5th week, and according to Enoch, the time that he used is weeks, and these weeks are a culmination of 10 weeks, right? So, and Ezra, right, at the end of the 5th week, towards the end of the 5th week, at the end of the 5th week, that period of time, Yahusha Hamashiach, not Ezra, I keep saying Ezra, excuse me, Enoch, right, introduces Yahusha Hamashiach as establishing the dominion forever, right? Now, Yahusha comes in and establishes the kingdom and the dominion forever, right? And from that time on, right, it's the last days. We're in the last days, right? And we are in the time where Yahuwah is raising righteousness from an everlasting plan of righteousness, right? See, because when Yahuwah makes us alive, Yasharal and Yahuda, and quickens us, and also quickens the other nations in this time, right, that represents righteousness being selected from an everlasting plan of righteousness. Now, that everlasting plan of righteousness is Yahusha HaMashiach. It is the salvation. It is what establishes us in the earth. And he put his dominion, right, his authority, right, his righteous ruach in us, right? We have, who received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, right, the water, the blood, and the Ruach HaKodesh. We are his righteous witnesses, right? We are that righteousness selected from an everlasting plan of righteousness. And Yahuwah is revealing, right, at this time, this now time, his sevenfold doctrine of creation. We're going to see revelation of the events of creation because it's time, right? We understand that we are in the end of the last days, right? We know that Yahuwah is going to bring forth judgment, right? We know he's going to bring forth judgment. He speaks of this judgment, right? He speaks of it in Ezra. He speaks of it in Daniel. He speaks of it in Ezekiel. He speaks of it in the prophets, right? So, we understand that Ezra understood at that time. He was in captivity. I mean, the nation was in captivity. It was under the dominion of Babylon, right? The Chaldeans took them into captivity, right? And Ezra was in captivity for 30 years, right? But we know the captivity lasted for 70 years. So though Yahuwah gave him understanding, right, 30 years in, right, they still had yet another 40 years to go of this captivity, right. They still had another 40 years to go till they experience Yahuwah's deliverance, right? 70 years, right? But in that time, he gave Ezra this witness. He gave Ezra this, and Ezra, with this came instructions. This is not for everybody, Ezra, right? There are some that are like you, that you will reveal all of this to, but it's not for everybody. It's like Yahusha says, right? Yahusha said, behold, the sower went forth to sow, right? The sower, he went forth to sow, right? He had a word. He had a Torah, right? He went to sow. He had a Torah, right? And this Torah, let's go there. Behold, the sower went forth to sow, right? And he sowed seed. He had his word, right? And it fell on a multitude of different, right? That was in Matthew. Let me see, that was Matthew. He said, it's in Matthew 13. No, actually, it started out in Matthew, the 13th chapter, the first verse, right? And Yahuwah, right, was by the seaside, and he was preaching the word to them in parables, right? He was giving them parables, right? And the disciples, in the midst of this teaching, after he had finished, confronted Yahusha. He said, listen, Yahusha, why do you speak to these people in parables? Right? Because it's not given to them to know, but it's given to you to know, right? Now, that seed that's sown, right, is going to reach those, right, whose heart is prepared to receive this word, right? And it's going to produce fruit. But everyone is not chosen to receive this. Everyone is not even positioned in their hearts. Neither do they have a desire, right, to receive this witness, right? Right? Yahuwah told Ezra, listen, Ezra, you're going to keep this word. And you're going to give this word. Now, Yahuwah had to give Ezra the capacity, right, to be able to document and record this. And I think he had Ezra select, I think it was, I don't know how many it was 3 or 7. Oh, anyway, there was a number that that Yahuwah had designated to come with Ezra, and he was going to put his Ruach HaKodesh in them so that they could record this. But not just this, other things, right, that he had given Ezra to record, right? Just like Moshe. Moshe recorded Jubilees, right? Or was it Yahusha? He recorded the books, apart from what we have in the canonized text, right? But they all are designed to reveal the fivefold doctrine of creation, right? So Ezra, Yahuwah says that Yahusha says to the disciples in the 13th to the 18th verse, he said, hear the parable of the sower. He says, when anyone heareth the Basora, the Torah of the kingdom, and understand it not, then comes that wicked one and catches that which is sown in his heart, which receives seed by the wayside. So everybody's not going to receive this word. This word ain't for everybody, right? Listen, Yahuwah gave me a word. Yahuwah told me to declare a word, right? And those who have an ear to hear are going to hear this word, right? They're going to understand the necessity of having this witness, right? They're going to understand without this witness, right, they ain't going to make it. They going to understand and receive it in the good soil, in a good heart, and they going to produce fruit from it. Listen, right? He says, let me go up, because I want the explanation of the parables. In 13th chapter of Matthew 10th verse. And his disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou them in parables? And he answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries. Ezra, it's given unto you to know the mysteries. Ezra, it was given unto Moshe to understand the mysteries. Ezra, it was given unto Enoch to know the mysteries. It was given unto the prophets that I have chosen, men and women that I have chosen to understand the mysteries. Right? For whosoever haveth, to him shall be given. Right? And he shall have more abundance. But whosoever haveth not, from him shall be taken away which he has. What you saying, Yahusha? Right? If Yahuwah has given you his Torah, and you have taken it and it's produced fruit, guess what? You're gonna produce more. Right? You're gonna be a blessing to more. You're gonna be able to do more. But listen, on the other hand, if you've had the word and haven't taken advantage of it, it's going to be taken from you. Listen. The nation had the Torah, right? But they didn't keep the Torah, right? The nations had a covenant, which they break. They didn't keep that covenant. Right? So Yahusha went to the other nations. He took what they had, and he has given it to them. Right? I ain't talking about Christianity, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. I ain't talking nothing about Christianity. I'm talking about everybody that has received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, Ruach HaKodesh, water and the blood. I'm not talking about Jesus. Right? I'm not talking about Jesus. You know, and it's amazing because even in Christendom, you would think they would understand that, you know, do a little research and you know his name ain't Jesus. You know, do a little research into the name. And maybe the information that you gather from the name would lead you to understand that you ain't using the name. Right? Same thing with Yahuwah. Yahuwah says his name is Yahuwah. Right? Yahuwah. His name. That's his name. Right? Right? It ain't God. Yes, he is an El, but he has a name. Yahuwah. Right? He expects to be called by his name. Yahuwah. Right? You have to understand this truth. You have to receive this word. And when you do, you're going to produce fruit. See, Yahuwah's going to take what you got and multiply it. But to those who refuse it and reject it, he's going to take it from them. You know, how's the time to come steal it from you? He said, for whosoever haveth, to him shall be given. Right? And he shall have more abundance. If you have the word on the inside, you're going to be given more. It's going to produce an abundance in you. Right? Right? But whosoever don't have the word, right? The Torah, the Besorah, right? From him shall be taken away even that which he had. Therefore speak I to them in parables. Right? Because they see not. Right? They don't see. Right? And they hear not. They don't hear. Right? Neither do they understand. You know, and it's crazy because, you know, I know people like that. they'll be the first one to say, oh, I hear you. Do you? Then if you hear me, how come you ain't changed? If you hear this word, then how come this word is not producing fruit? Right? You dull of hearing. You have eyes and you can't see. You have ears and you can't hear. Right? Yahusha said, listen. Yahuwah told Ezra, listen. Everybody ain't going to hear you. Everybody ain't going to receive you. Yahusha says, here in Matthew, he says, therefore I speak to them in parables, because seeing they see not, and hearing they hear not. Right? Neither do they understand. They ain't going to understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy. The prophecy is fulfilled concerning what Elias said, which said, by hearing, ye shall hear, and ye shall not understand. You don't understand this, right? Right? And seeing, ye shall see, and you ain't going to perceive it. Right? Right? He said, why? For this people's heart is waxed gross. There's nothing in your heart that represents good soil. Your heart is gross. That's why Yahuwah says he's going to have to replace your heart. He says, I'm going to give you a new heart. These people can't hear it, right? He says, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes. Right? Right? And hear with their ears. Right? And should understand in their hearts and should be converted. Listen, the objective is that this word should convert you to doing what is right. Ezra went and prophesied to the people. And he said, listen, just say if Yahuwah, you need to turn the Torah, turn back to Yahuwah's commandments. And you know what they said? No, we got to listen to that. We ain't doing that. The heart's wax gross. Right? They didn't hear the word. Yahuwah says, okay. Yaakov don't want to hear it. Yehuda don't want to hear it. Right? I'm going to go to the other nations. See, Ezra, right, was given the privilege of understanding and receiving Yahuwah's word, his Torah, his Besorah. His heart was right. But blessed are your eyes, Yahusha says, for they see, and your ears, they hear. Right? Ezra. So Ezra, the 14th chapter, right? And again, we're skipping the prophetic parts, the prophecies, and we're going to pick up at the 13th or the 14th chapter, right? And actually, we gonna go into. We're going to start at the 54th verse of that 13th chapter, and then we're going to go into the 14th chapter, okay? But it says, for you have forsaken your own way and applied your diligence unto Torah. Ezra, you're chaste. You have diligently applied yourself to Torah, right? You have every intentions on doing what is right. Listen, that's why Yahuwah call a man. Yahuwah call a woman to share a Torah or Besorah, or to cry loud and despair not, because he knows their heart is in a place where it can be used. Right? Right? But listen, don't get me wrong, man. You got a bunch of people out there screaming and yelling, but their heart ain't right. They screaming and hiding. They ain't truly received the witness. He said here, for you have forsaken your own way. What? Right? And applied your diligence unto my Torah and sought it. Your life have you ordered in wisdom, and have called understanding your mother. Therefore have I shown you the treasures of Elyon. And after another 3 days I will speak other things unto you. Yahuwah. Because a man pursues him. A woman pursues him in Torah. Yahuwah answers. Yahuwah answers. Yahuwah answers. Right? He says, I showed you the treasures of Elyon. Right? He ain't doing this to everybody. He ain't doing this out of an order. Like, you don't operate out of order. Yahuwah don't operate out of order. Everything Yahuwah does is governed by Torah, because it's his word. His word is his bond. His word is what goes forth. His word is what is in perpetual motion. You know, his word has a perpetual accountability, right? It don't change, right? It's as effective as it was when Moshe gave it to this day. Not one jot or tittle, right? He says, after another 3 days I will speak other things unto you, and declare unto you mightiest and wondrous things. So you will say, there's still yet there's things that he's going to declare to him, right? Ezra, right? Then went I forth into the field, giving praise and thanks greatly to El Elyon. He is El Elyon. He is Yahuwah Alua. He is the El of Els, right? Because of his wonders which he did in time, because of things that I've seen that he's done in time, right? And because he governs the same and such things as fall in their season, he does everything with a purpose. Yahuwah does not operate purposeless. Right? Yahuwah does everything with a purpose. The nation is in captivity, right, with a desired outcome and purpose. Right? Yahuwah always is on time. Yahuwah functions in an order. His order. His established time. Right? He doesn't change it for Ezra. He doesn't change it for the prophets. Right? Right? He doesn't change it for Yahusha. Because Yahusha himself said, the Father, it's his time, he has control of that. Right? Right? Yahusha was in the garden. Yahuwah, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. Let me avoid this time. No. But he recognized, nevertheless, Yahuwah, not my time, not my will, not my decision, but thy will. Right? So, he says, and there I sat 3 days. Now into the 14th chapter, right? And it came to pass upon the third day I sat under an oak tree, I sat up under an oak, and behold, there came a voice out of a bush over against me, right? And said, Ezra, Ezra. Right? Much like Yahuwah spoke to Moshe. Right? From out of a bush. Right? He says, and I said, here am I, Adonai, and I stood up upon my feet. Stood up. I'm here, Yahuwah. I'm here, Adonai. Right? I'm here. Just as you instructed. Right? Right? And then said he unto me in the thorn bush. Right? He said unto me as he spoke from the thorn bush. Right? I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moshe. I revealed myself unto Moshe in like manner. Right? Now, it doesn't say that the bush was on fire. Right? But the fact that he spoke from the bush is similar to what he's doing with Ezra. Right? He says, I did reveal myself unto Moshe and talked with him. Excuse me. I revealed myself unto Moshe. Right? Right? And talked with him when my people served in Mitzrayim. So you understand the similarity that he's trying to present to Ezra. Right? Right? How Ezra is going to be used, right, in the overall scheme of things, right, in the deliverance of the nation from Babylon, Persians, right, King Darius, right, gonna let the people go, right? You, right? He's speaking Ezra, right? He says, and I sent him and led my people out of Mitzrayim. Ezra, sending you to Babylon, right? He says, deliver my people out of Mitzrayim, and brought him up to the mountain of where I held him by me a long season. So I delivered him that, and I kept him with me for 40 days. Right? 40 days. He said I kept him up in many days. Right? He says, and I sent him and led my people out of Mitzrayim and brought him up to the mountain of where I held him by me a long season, right? And told him my wondrous things and showed him the secrets of the times and the end, and commanded him, saying, these words shall ye declare, and these shall ye hide. Ezra, just like I have revealed some things to you, I've done it before. I did it for Moshe as he was leading these stiff-necked, rebellious people in the wilderness. Right? Now, he was with him for 40 days, right? But, Yahuwah kept Moshe up on the mountain on several different occasions, giving Moshe writings that he recorded, right? And some of the things that Yahuwah had revealed to him, he wasn't even to show people. doing with Ezra. Right? Just like he's doing with Ezra. Right? He says, and told him many wondrous things, and showed him the secrets of time. He showed him the secrets of time. He revealed to them the doctrine of creation. Because creation is about the time. He says, right? And the end, and commanded him, saying, these words shall ye declare, and these ye shall hide. It's things about creation that you gotta hide from the people. Right? It's things that you've recorded and written. The Yahusha, or Jubilees. Gotta keep them. There's books, there's writings that have been hid from us. Right? Hid, kept from us, right? Because Yahuwah wanted them kept. Right? He says, and now I say unto you, that you lay up in your heart the signs that I have shown, and the dreams that you have seen, and the interpretations which ye have heard. Right? For you shall be taken away from all. Right? And from henceforth you shall remain with my son. You should be taken away. You shall remain with my son. Right? He says, and with such as be like you. Right? Until the time of the end. You're gonna be with Yahusha. Right? And all those that are like you, that are pure in heart. Those that are like you, that have forsaken their own way, and have applied their diligence unto Torah, and sought it, because it was that time. See, because Ezra is dealing in his time. We understand what the standard is, because Yahuwah says that the standard is, for you have forsaken your own way and have applied your diligence unto my Torah and sought it. Your life have you ordered in wisdom and have called understanding your mother. Therefore have I shown you the treasures of El Elyon. After another 3 days I will speak other things unto you and declare unto you mighty and wondrous things. Why? Because you are diligent in Torah. Ezra was diligent in Torah. And when Ezra was to depart, he was going to depart to be with Yahusha. And everyone that was like him. everyone that received the word in their hearts and did it. Right? Right? See, you have to understand Yahuwah in time is, Yahuwah declares the end at the beginning. Right? Yahuwah's son was already determined to bring Yeshua. It was a sealed deal. Right? Right? Yahuwah speaks to Ezra in the presence of things yet that are in the future. He says, for ye shall be taken away from all, and from henceforth you shall remain with my son. Yahusha. And with such as be like you. Because everybody that's like you are with the Son. You gotta be born again of the water and the Ruach. See, Ezra in his time, right, was required to demonstrate through his obedience in his heart, right? Because Yahuwah says he shows mercies unto thousands of them that love him and keep his commandments. Keeping his commandments is your demonstration of the love of Yahuwah, right? Ezra loved Yahuwah because he diligently sought Torah out and kept it. He was chaste, right? Right? The witness of Yahusha HaMashiach came at a time in which Yahuwah was establishing his dominion in the Eretz. And along with that came the establishment of a people who had Yahuwah's Ruach HaKodesh, who had Yahusha's being water baptism, being born in the water and the Ruach HaKodesh, right? And having received the atonement blood. You had to have Yahusha's blood atone for your sins, right? That's what caused your heart to change, right? That's what gives you a clean heart. A heart that want to serve you, not a heart that want to serve your flesh. Listen, if you still serving your flesh, you don't love Yahuwah. Because you ain't, listen. Forget the fact that you're not living up to what Yahusha HaMashiach says. You ain't living up to what Torah says. Right? I mean, you're not living up to Torah. Granted, you say, you are the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, but you still in sin. Well, no. You ain't Yahuwah's. Ezra and those like him were with the Son. We who receive the witness is going to be with the Son. Okay, let's do this. Yeah, I already know where I'm going. Ephesians 2. And you haven't he made alive. Now, matter of fact, let's go back to Ephesians 1. Ephesians 1 and 13. Right? In whom also ye trusted. You trusted. Right? After that you heard the Torah. Ezra trusted. He heard the Torah. Right? Of truth. Right? The good news of your Yeshua. Torah brought, Ezra and those like him, Yeshua. Right? Well, he says, now. In whom also after that you believed, right? You were sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh promise. Ezra and those like him, right? They weren't sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh promise. They were like Abraham. They believed Yahuwah, and it was counted unto him as righteousness. They believed, right? Because Ezra was so diligently, because Ezra forsook his own desires, his own ways. He was chaste, and he wanted to do what Torah said. Right? He wanted to obey Torah and keep Torah because he knew it pleased Yahuwah. Right? Because he did it, he took his own way, and he applied himself to Torah. He gave himself to Torah. Right? Right? And he was with the Son and those like him, Yahusha Mashiach. Time. Right. So, Ezra passes away. Yahusha comes. Right. We're talking time. Right. Yahusha comes, establishes the dominion forever. Yahuwah takes the keys of death and hell. Right? He takes authority over every kingdom by virtue of him being that son that died. But yet he lives. Right? And because he lives, we live if we receive the witness. And if we receive the witness of Yahusha Mashiach, then we too will be with Yahusha like Ezra was. Right? But you can't do it under the same, you can't do it the way Ezra did it, because Yahusha's method, right, his priesthood, his high priestly order established the witness, and the witness is what everybody must have, because he established his dominion. Okay, this is my dominion. This is what we gonna do. You gonna be born again in the water of the Ruach. Listen, Ezra, right? Ephesians, right? He says, and ye were sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh promise, right? Which is the earnest of your inheritance. Right? It's the earnest of your inheritance. Until the redemption of the purchased possession. What's the purchased possession? The purchased possession is the nation of Yisrael that are in the witness. The gradually Gentiles that have received the witness. They're the purchased possession. They're going to move into the same thing that Ezra moved into. For you shall be taken away from all, and from henceforth you shall remain with my son. He's taken away. We ain't talking rapture. We're talking death. Right? You're going to be with my son. And everyone is like you. Right? Because I'm going to send you to the people. And you know what to declare to the people. Right? I'm going to give you a text. I'm going to give you a writing. You're going to teach it to the young men. And you're going to teach it to the wise, elders and leaders. Right? You're going to share, not everything, but you're going to share it. Right?
to those who have an ear to hear. To those who receive the witness. Seed being sowed. Wheat and tares growing together. He says, wherefore also after that I heard of your emunah in Adonai Yahusha, and love unto all the Kodashim, right? Love towards all the Kodashim, right? Cease not to give thanks for you, making mention of you in my prayers, right? That the allure of our Adonai Yahusha Hamashiach, the Abba of glory, may give unto you the Ruach HaKodesh of wisdom, the Ruach HaKodesh of revelation, in the Ruach HaKodesh knowledge of him. Yahuwah has given you the Ruach HaKodesh, right? He says, why? That the eyes of your understanding being enlightened, that ye may know what is the hope of his calling, that you may know why he called you. Right? Right? Because he's creating a kingdom of people for a few in a new heaven and a new earth. This is for a few. He says, the eyes of your understanding be enlightened, that you may know what is the hope of his calling, and what the riches of the glory of his inheritance in the saints. What's the richness of the glory? That's the Ruach HaKodesh on the inside of you. That's the richness of his glory. That's Yahuwah and Yahusha on the inside of you. The riches of his glory. That's the Ruach HaKodesh of truth. That's the glory that is on the inside of you. Right? Now you have an earnest of this. You have a down payment of this. You don't walk in the fullness of this. Like Yahusha Mashiach walked in the fullness of this. He had it all in that Shama Yemender, right? You can't walk on water unless Yahuwah tells you to walk on water. Right? Yahuwah opens it up for you to walk on water. There's some things that you can do that Yahuwah gives you the Ruach HaKodesh on the inside to make sure you can do it. It's not a superpower that you can turn on and turn off at will. Though it is a supernatural Yahuwah power. It's evidence in you. And it dwells in you. And it flows from your belly. Your innards. Right? Right? And it's going to give you what you need to get the job done that he needs you to get done. He says, and what is the exceeding greatness of his power? Right? The glory. To usward. Right? To us. This power wasn't made available until Yahuwah established his kingdom in the Eretz. To whoever wills. To whoever believes. Right? It wasn't made available then. Right? Right? But you know what? Yahuwah knew. You gotta have this. You gotta have this. Listen. You gotta have this. He says, what the exceeding greatness of his power to us who believe. I really, it's a sad thing because even in Israel, I don't see this. I don't see this amongst the brethren. I don't see signs following. Right? I don't see signs following. I see a bunch of carnal people talking about they got the Ruach HaKodesh and they don't. Ain't no signs following you. There's no evidence of the Ruach HaKodesh in you. Yeah, I know make somebody mad, but okay. Don't matter. The fact is that Yahusha said these signs shall follow them to believe. That's why I told you better see the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh. You better have Yahusha on the inside of you. Because you're going to need it. He says, exceeding greatness of power, us who believe according to the working of his mighty power. This is the same power that he wrought in Hamashiach when he raised him from the dead. He raised Yahusha from the dead. Right? Same power. Right? When he raised him from the dead and did what? Set him at his own right hand in heavenly places. Set Yahusha at his right hand in the heavenlies, right? And he is far above principalities and powers and mights and dominions and every name that is named, not only in this world, but that which is to come. Yahusha. Far above principalities and powers. He defeated openly Hasatan's kingdom and authority. Every earthly kingdom is subject to him even as we speak. Right? Right? And having put all things under his feet and gave him to be the head over all things to the assembly. Yahusha is the head. Right? Which is his body that filleth all in all. Now we're going to go into this second chapter, right? He says, and you have he quickened. He had made you alive who were dead in your sins. Right? This is us being in the Son. Like Ezra is going to be with the Son. Right? We are in the Son. Because Yahusha has established a dominion. And by his power raised up Yahusha Mashiach. By his power he's given us life. His Ruach HaKodesh life. The life that comes with signs following. He says, and you have he made alive, raised from the dead. Who were dead in trespasses and sins. Right? Right? That's why you had to take out the stony heart of flesh and give us a new heart of flesh. Right? He does that through the blood of Yahusha HaMashiach. Yahusha HaMashiach's blood became the atonement. Right? That gave us a clean slate, a clean heart. We have been swept, cleaned, and varnished. We are in Yahuwah and Yahusha. We have received the witness. And by emunah, in faith of the same, having believed, we received the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? Right? That quickened us. Ruach HaKodesh quickens us. That's why you got to have the Ruach HaKodesh. The Ruach HaKodesh is the quickener. It was the same thing that gave Yahusha life from the dead. The Ruach HaKodesh. The power. That's the same power that separates us from our previous sinful nature and sin life. Because we've received the blood, we have been cleansed and purified. Now we can be raised. For without the shedding of blood, there's no forgiveness of sins. You can't be raised in sin. You have to be raised in righteousness. Now, there's a resurrection of everybody, but not unto life eternal. The witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah on the inside of you, is what gives you the eternal life. It's the earnest. It's the eternal life, right? He says, where in times past you walked according to the course of this world, you did like everybody else did. According to the prince of the power of the air, Hasatan, right? Hasatan's influence. The Ruach that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Everybody that's in disobedience is being driven by Yehoshaphat's Ruach. Right? So if you say you received the witness and you are in constant disobedience, you lie and you tell not the truth. Because if you are walking in according to the course of this world, right? According to the prince of the power of the air, the Ruach that now worketh in the children of disobedience, among whom also we all had. We used to prior live like this. Right? In times past, the lust, of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, just like the nation. Yahuwah told Ezra, everybody go receive this. It's not for everybody, Ezra. It's for you and those like you. You and those like you are going to see the sun. The S-O-N, Yahusha, right? He says, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, even as other. But Eluah, who was rich in mercy and great love, wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sin, he gave us life. Together with Hamashiach. By grace are ye saved. Right? For grace are ye saved, and haveth raised us up. Because see, you got to receive this witness. You got to receive the water and the blood in order to be quickened, to be made alive, to be raised to eternal life, to receive the inheritance. He says, and haveth raised us up together. What did he say to Ezra? He says, for you shall be taken away from all, and from henceforth ye shall remain with my son. Right? And with such as be like you. Because the only people that are with the Son are those that are like you in your dispensation. The only people that are with the Son are those who have trusted, after that having believed the Besorah, right? The gospel. Right? The Besorah, right? They were sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? They were quickened. They were made alive. Right? 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 And haveth raised us up together in this witness. Raised us up together. See, when Yahusha died, when he became that propitiation, when he became the Lamb of Yahuwah, that Yahuwah said, this is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased, you had to come through Yahusha. You had to receive the blood of Yahusha in atonement for your sins. Because that's the only way you're going to be raised up together. We ain't talking a rapture. We're talking about raised from the dead. Talking about raised up from the dead. You were dead in sin. You had faith, because he tells you the process. The process that you had to undergo in order to receive this Yeshua is in the 13th verse. In whom also after that you trusted, right? After you heard the word of truth that brought Yeshua. I am the bread of life. I am the light of the world. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Once you receive the word of truth, this good news of your Yeshua in whom you believed. Right? You believed it. Now Yahuwah can raise you up. He can put his Ruach in you just like he raised Yahusha by the Ruach HaKodesh. Man. Listen here, you better understand this. You better understand this. You better understand this. You better understand this. Right? He says to Ezra, and unto them that like you until the end of time. Until the end of time. You gotta receive this witness. You got to receive the witness of Yahuwah in Emunah. And this is to the end of time. Right? He says, for the world has lost its youth. Yeah, we at the end of the seventh week. 8 is the week of righteousness. 9 is the week of judgment. 10th is the reset. The reboot. We righteousness now selected from an everlasting plan of righteousness. Listen, they call it global warming, but the world is growing old. It is dying. Right? He says, for the world had lost its youth, and the time is beginning to wax old. Time is waxing old. You have to understand that everything that Yahuwah does has a time. Right? He says, for the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10th parts of it are gone already, and half of the 10th parts, and there remains that which is after the half of the 10th part. Right? So Yahuwah, listen, man. The earth is well into 3/4 of its existence being past. He says here, and there remains that which is after the half of the 10th part, right? Now, therefore, set your house in order and reprove your people, comfort such as them that be in trouble, and now renounce corruption. Go tell the people this. Yeah, you cry loud to them and you tell them, spare not, spare not. Let them know that the earth is dying. The earth is coming to an end. It's getting old. Excuse me. It's getting old. So what does that mean? It's drawing to its conclusion. It's about to get to the crescendo. It's about to move into its last hurrah. Right? See, they think they're going to be able to escape it. go off into another planet when they know they can't go to no other planet. They got you believing that NASA, that lie. They got you believing that. You know, it's funny because I like Star Trek. I used to like Star Trek, right? To explore strange new worlds, seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Ain't no escaping this judgment. Ain't no escaping this wrath to come. He was going to do a new thing, a new heaven and a new earth. But it's only for a few.
You hear what he told Ezra? He says, for you shall be taken away from all, and from hence you shall remain with my son, that 9th verse of the 14th chapter of Ezra, right? And which such be like you until the end of time.
Right. It's going to happen. You can't understand this. Time. The end. The blessings that Yahuwah has established for a people who will live for him. A Yeshua, salvation, is promised them. An earnest of an inheritance. The purchased possession, whom they are, they're waiting.
He says, for the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10th part of it is gone already, and half of the 10th part. And there remains at which is after the half of the 10th part. Now therefore set your house in order, and reprove your people.
The house of Israel. Set it in order. Reprove your people.
Right. Comfort such as them that be troubled.
Comfort them.
That be troubled. Right. And now renounce corruption.
Tell people to renounce corruption. Right. Come out from among Babylon. Its system, its appetites, its flavors. Come out from among them. Right. It's women, it's men, it's lies. Come out from among them.
So listen. Let go from your mortal thoughts. Cast away the burdens of men.
Listen. You have to understand that this Yeshua, this witness, right, has positioned you to partake in eternal life. Right. Now, in order to get to this eternal life, you're going to have to pass through death. Right. Now, some of us, or I'm saying us as in me, but some of us are going to endure tribulation, and Yahusha is going to return, and Yahusha is going to gather, and Yahusha is going to establish his kingdom, and his kingdom is still going to come under assault after a time. Right? And if you are blessed to live at that time in which Yahusha returns, right, and serve with him in the kingdom of you, then you're going to be blessed, right? But understand this, right? In order to get to the new heaven and new earth, in order to receive eternal life, you have to die, right? You have to die. You have to die. Some of us will not see death. Some of us will be changed in a moment, in a twinkling. Put off mortality and put on immortality. It's going to happen. Right? But the vast majority of people are going to die. But the death is not what you think it is. It's not a transference from a physical death on life to a life of death and torment afterwards. It is a death, an absence of life as you know it, right? But your soul, your spirit, right? They're ushered into that place that Yahuwah has reserved for those who will await, right, the new heaven and new earth. Now listen, the process of the waiting, right, it's not a process of, oh man, I gotta wait. No. It's a beautiful thing. Just in lieu to moving into a beautiful thing. New heaven and new rats. This is why we do this. Yasharal and Yahuda, this is why we do this. Listen, this is why I preach this Basora. This is why I give you the Torah. This is why I cry loud and spare not. This is why I tell you that you must be born again, because if all we have is what we see in this earth, we are most men miserable. He says, therefore, set your house in order, reprove your people, comfort such as be as in trouble, and now renounce corruption, right? Let go from your mortal thoughts. Mortal thinking. It's about the hustle. It's about me. About getting mines. I gotta get this money. I gotta get $5,000 in money. I got $10,000 in money. I got $230,000. I gotta get this money. I gotta get this money. I gotta get this money. Gotta get it. Mortal thoughts. And to who? What if you can't get it? You'll sacrifice everything to get it. Sell your soul. Sell your body. Get it. That's why this ain't for everybody. This is why the sower sows the seed and everybody can go get it. because it ain't given to everybody. That's why Yahusha rejoices over that one that receives the witness and is established to the end, because it makes it worth it all. He says, let go of your mortal thoughts. Cast away the burdens of man. Cast away the burdens of man, right? Cast away. Hey, listen, real quick. I just, I got my truck, right? And, my truck is, I just put, about 4 or 5 months ago, probably put more than 5,500 in the truck engine, right? Running fine, right? And 2 days ago, driving, I got 2 lights come on in my truck. Engine lights. Right? So then the first thing Hasatan sold into my head was like, if it ain't one thing, it's another. Right? Right? And I said, no, I rebuke that in the name of Yahusha Mashiach. Oh, no. No. I serve you. I'm the righteous. I refuse to allow this to move me into a place of worrying and doubt and being burdened over. No, I refuse to. I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. So, light came on. I'm like, I went over to AutoZone, got a little code printout, found out what the code was. Shot it over to my boy that was a mechanic. He gave me an idea. He says, this is probably this. Right? It was the same thing. It was the remedy to satisfy that code, right? So, I went in, I got the piece, right? Put the piece on, right? We cool, He said it, cool, right? No lights came on. I'm saying, we good, drive, right? So I drive, later on that day, boom, both lights come back on. I'm like, what? So, I will go to Discount Auto, say, listen, man, I need you to put that thing on my car again. Put that thing on my car again. Instead of 2 of the codes were gone, one of the codes was gone, the other one was still there. Okay. But the code that was still there was the one that I had replaced. I'm like, wow, okay, that don't make sense, man, okay. Right? So, I didn't call my boy that was a mechanic, right? I came home, because I didn't want to drive the car. Came home and do some more research. I get on the computer, I was doing research, trying to figure it out, right? You would have told me, said, call Wes, right? You call Wes. Now, Wes is my mechanic here. My boy is my mechanic at Fort Myers. He do all the heavy lifting. If your engine got to be removed, that's the heavy lifting. Hey, he do it. It's my other guy, he works for a dealership, and he does stuff in that dealership, But, I don't know if he do major engine work, but, he does stuff for mechanic stuff, right? So I called him, and I didn't want to call him at first because he had lost his wife not too long ago, and that kind of hurt me, because he's such a good guy, man, and his wife, she succumbed to I can't remember she had a disease or something. She succumbed to it. Right? He's a younger dude. He's younger than me. He's only he can't be in his mid-30s maybe. He been with her forever. He's one of those guys that, he in a relationship, he locked in for life. And, they just locked in for life, and, so, I said, man, I really don't want to call him, because, he's still recovering, I'm sure, so he said, call him. So I shot him a text. So, I text him, I'm like, yo, man, listen, I hope everything's going good, and anyway, had some conversation. Then I told him, I said, listen, man, I got this problem. I gave him the code and the information. He said, yeah. He said, wow. He says, okay. He says, I tell you what, go check the oil. I'm like, okay. Because, I don't know. I want to check the oil. So I popped the hood, took the dipstick out. There was hardly no oil in the car. Now I just had the oil changed, right? A synthetic. This guy I've been going through this place for 8 years. Never had a problem with him, right? I go there, I look in it, I said, man, ain't no oil in it, So I had driven the car, right? So I know that the dipstick, I cleaned it off and I stuck it in there and pulled it out, there was none, hardly. I mean, it was like that much at the bottom of the tip, right? What? He says, yeah, man, those sensors, that indication goes off sometimes when your oil is at a certain level, and it just caused that light to kick on. He said, I said, well, man, I just got this oil changed. He said, well, you leaking oil? I said, no, man, I don't leak oil. My truck ain't never leaked no oil. I ain't never had no oil leaks, right? So he says, then you need to go back to them and tell them, the situation. Because, they didn't put enough oil in your truck. I said, yeah, man, because, I just got a new engine, the whole engine new. Just about. I mean, still same block. But, it ain't leaking no oil. I got new lifters, cams, valves, got all that in there. So I go back to the man this morning. I said, listen, man, I got an oil change maybe about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. And, there had to be a problem because, my sensor light came on. Can't crank, and he knew what sensor. Crankshaft capture sensor came on. And, I changed the sensor. And I called my boy who's a mechanic over at a dealership. And he told me, well, if the oil is low, it'll set off that sensor. He said, but, the oil's got to be pretty low. So I said, so, I drove the truck over there. I said, listen, man. He said, oh, well, let me check. So he checked it. He said, oh, yeah, it is low. I said, yeah. He said, well, let me move it up on the lift, right? So he moves it up on the lift. He checks it. He said, well, let me get it level first. So he got a level. He says, oh, yeah, it is low. He puts stick back, keep stick out. And then he raises the car up. Right? Then he starts going over with the light. I said, man, I ain't got no leaks because I'm telling you, I don't have no food leaks. He said, no, you ain't got no leaks. I said, yeah, I know. That's why I don't understand why my truck is that low. So, he says, well, I'm sorry, we're gonna take care of it. We'll get it together. We'll figure out what's going on. So, the guy that put the oil in, he puts the oil in the truck. Boop, 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 He said, take 4 quarts. I take 5. And then he tried to give me an explanation, like, well, these trucks burn oil. I said, listen, man, right? There's nothing in my truck that would ever give me an indication it's burning oil. And you know what? Everything in the engine is new. I just got the oil change. You just should have, put like, 5 quarts, 6 quarts? Heck, I don't know how many, but I know it ain't 1. Right? He said, well, you can burn oil. You can. I said, listen, man. I said, okay. He said, well, no, this is what we're going to do. He said, just so we can determine whether or not it was our fault, we're going to go ahead and put the oil in the truck and bring it back in 1,000 miles, and let's see what the oil stick is. I said, well, man, I've been bringing my truck to you for the last 8 years. And not one time have you ever said to me, oh, man, you're burning oil. You got a lot of oil. You lose a lot of oil. All right? You never said that. I mean, never. So, there's no reason for me to believe that all of a sudden now, I got new everything in the engine that I'm burning, right? But I said that to say this, right? So anyway, of course, my truck is fine now. But anyway, I don't let stuff move me, right? I am not going to be burdened. The burdens of man I'm not going to allow those things to affect me. Now again, Hashtag will do everything in its power to bring you to a place where, you're moved by things. You're moved by people. You're moved by spouses. You're moved by employers. You're moved by stuff that doesn't matter. See, that's not us, because we understand that we're eternal. We want to be with the Son, right? And if we happen to be here, right, at the point in which he gathers us and brings us through, then we're going to be with Yahusha Mashiach as he reigns in the earth for 6,000 years. At any rate, we're going to reign. So Yahuwah's like Esdras. Warn the people. Tell the people. Help the people understand what they have to know. Right? Because he says here, he says, set your house in order. And reprove your people. Comfort such as them to be in trouble. And renounce corruption. Right? Listen. Man of Yah, woman of Yah. Hear the word of Yahuwah. From the man of Yahuwah, who has told you that Yahuwah's witness is everything, that you must be born again of the water and of the Ruach HaKodesh. Lay aside every weight and sin that will so easily beset you. Let it go. Turn to Yahuwah. Turn to the witness. Turn to the Ruach of Yahuwah and live. Listen. He's let go of every mortal thought. Let it go. Right? It don't matter. Let it go. Right? Cast away your burdens. Let them go. Right? Cast your cares upon him. He cares for you. Let it go. That's why he gave you a Ruach HaKodesh, the comforter, which is the Ruach HaKodesh. The Ruach HaKodesh in you should comfort you. It should be comforting you. He says, and put off the weak nature. Put off your weak, carnal, fleshly nature. Right? Right? And set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto you, and haste you to flee from these times. That's talking to Ezra. Right? But he's saying the same thing to us. Same thing to us. We have to understand, we have to recognize. He's saying the same thing to us. He says, set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto you. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, what's heavy? What's weighing you down? You need to understand the value of the Ruach HaKodesh. And then you need to understand this comforter has a purpose. Right? That purpose is to cause you to be able to endure and not be overcome by thoughts and cares and concerns of this time. Ezra had a tendency to be concerned about the time that he was in. He said, don't worry about that. You're going to be with the Son. You're going to be with the Son. And everyone's like you. Listen, you who are in this witness, you're going to be with Yahusha. Right? Everybody that's like you. Right? A remnant. Right? The Yahuwah's chosen. That are of among the other nations that are of Yashral and Yahuda. If we understand this, then we have to rejoice in this. Right? This has to be our rejoicing. He says, for set the greater evil. He says, and set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto you, and haste you to flee from these times. For yet greater evils than those which you have seen happen shall be done hereafter. Ezra, you ain't even seen the worst of it. Right? America hasn't seen the worst of it. hasn't seen the worst of it. These other nations haven't seen the worst of it. We've seen the worst. And there's still worse to see. But we have to fix ourselves on eternal life and being with the Son. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, we gonna stop there at the 18th verse of that 14th chapter. Yahuwah, I pray right now in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach that the words you've given me to give to them, they would receive them, and that it would give them life. Yahuwah, that they would recognize the value of the witness, recognize the importance of being born again of the water and of the Ruach HaKodesh, knowing that you have made them free from sin if they receive the witness, the good news of the blood atonement of Yahusha. Yahuwah, I pray that this Ruach HaKodesh would seal those who you have quickened, made alive. It would seal them unto everlasting life. That they would be that purchased possession, that they would walk worthy of this calling, that they would hold on to the earnest of their inheritance, willing to endure to the end, because they recognize that tribulation is their ally. Yahuwah, I pray. Yahuwah, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuwah, my strength and my redeemer. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, called to greatness. Woman of Yahuwah, beautifully and wonderfully made. Today Yahuwah's favored you. Listen, this witness is everything. 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 You must be born again in the water of the Ruach HaKodesh. You must be born again in the water of the Ruach HaKodesh. You must have the Ruach HaKodesh, water and blood. This establishes you, right? This positions you to be seated in heavenly places in Hamashiach. It gives you the right to be sons of Yahuwah. It gives you a position in place with the Son. Receive this witness. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, with that I say, listen. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Be led by the Ruach HaKodesh and be blessed. Torah Guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.